Recording. Okay, so we are going to continue on in module number 5. So we're working on the application drawings. These application drawings aren't due until the very end of this week. So don't panic. I mean, I know there are 9 of them and they are a little bit more complex. So a little bit more time is going to be spent. These drawings that I have assigned here, or the exercises, are all out of your tech drawing book, not the AutoCAD book, but the tech drawing book. They correspond to there's one from chapter 6, a couple from chapter 7, 8, and 9. And really it's looking at laying things out, appropriately, 3 views-ish, okay? And then adding dimensions. There's some tolerancing that we have to kind of play around with a little bit, which means that we have to set up some different dimension styles, but doing them all on AutoCAD. Additionally, it's adding some section views here so that we can see some true sizes and shapes set, so that we have the ability to dimension items, and then as well auxiliary views here too. Now I don't have all of the drawing guides out there yet. I'm gonna use an excuse. I wasn't really feeling well all weekend, so unfortunately I got the next 3 done. Okay, so 6 of them are done, but really with this practice too, and practicing the very same rules that we've been talking about, I believe you can make some good decisions. I mean, I think you guys are getting there with the rules and how to apply them, and you've had some good examples that you can look back on. So if in the event I don't have, if I'm not where you're at, that's okay. Attempt it, keep going. And then, and within the next couple of days, I'll have those last 3 out there by Wednesday. The next time that we meet, they'll all be out there. So, so if you want to just kind of hang on before submitting, so that you can compare, that's probably wise. So, so really that's where we're going to focus our time today. And like I said, next time we'll kind of move on to the next official module, which will be module 6, looking at tolerancing. So, so let's take a peek here. Now, the last time we were together, we spent time on the first 3, which were the index feed, the cam, and the chuck jaw. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to kind of move forward, and I'm going to first pull up the drawing guide and see if there's any questions that you guys may have on any of the items here. So so as we pull up this drawing guide, I'm going to zoom out just a bit, and I do the drawing guide in color by design, so that you can really kind of see the difference between the items rather than doing it all in black and white. But you can see, you know, that all my dimensions are on the dimension layer with the appropriate color, as well as the hidden lines, the center line. So again, I do it this way. You may not do this out in industry. It might just be a black and white, and that's where the line weights really become critical, so that you can see the differences. But I think this is nice for what we're doing here. Make sure that your drawing border is filled in with all of the information that you have, making up a part number. And sometimes we don't know the material. You can just put in steel or aluminum or whatever you want. In this one, it did give us the type of steel, which is the SAE 1315. So let me grab out my book actually. And I will open up to that roller stud. We'll look kind of underneath. So this is one of our chapter 7 drawings, I believe. One of these, there it is. Okay, on page 312. On page 312 at the top is our roller stud, and it's problem number, or exercise number 721. So I just have to get my camera ready here, and we'll look underneath and look at the exercise. Okay. All right, so our roller stud is right here on this page. So I'm gonna closer and zoom in. Okay, so you'll notice here that it's kind of an offset or an eccentric roller stud here. The center lines all the way along do not match. So for instance, you'll notice that this front portion, the smallest diameter, is actually shifted down to be tangent to the bottom of the second largest diameter on here. Okay, so as we look back at the AutoCAD guide, is it here? There we go. You'll notice that in the front view, we see the center line of that diameter, that front diameter, offset from the 2 diameters that come after it. Okay, so that's kind of how that is oriented. Now from the side, And from the front and from the right side, that's where we see those differences. But really in the top, in that orientation, as we look straight down, those center lines are in line with one another. Okay, it's just that in this front view, they're offset a little bit lower for that front part. There is a cutoff here, as you can see. So it cuts off. There's a slice that's taken to make a flat, and then a hole goes through. Okay. Additionally, there is some side like cuts that are going to make flats on either side there as well. And that's what we see right here. And then the dimension of the 42 is what we get from the actual drawing itself. So if we go back over here underneath, that's going to be this part. And then it's the very same dimension on the other side with a 42 or 21 from the center. Okay. There's also this cut along the back. Okay. That slices all the way through. As we look at this, is there any questions that you have on any of the dimensions or what you see there, features, anything like that? Okay. All right. There are 1, 2, 3 tolerance diameters. Okay. So in this case, 2 of them have the same tolerance, if you would. So as you're creating this, what I did was I kind of figured out what the differences were in the different tolerances, meaning I checked to see if there was any that I could go underneath the same style, if you would. As we know, when we do our dimensioning, we do any like pluses and minuses off of the straight, number of decimal places, then we have to key those in separately for each one of the instances on the drawing. Okay. So what I did was I checked each one of these. So I wanted to kind of show you that way when you draw the actual feature, ideally, we want to draw it to kind of that middle point so that when we create our dimension and we identify the tolerance, we can do like an even plus or minus potentially, okay? Unless it's a nominal value, then we like to draw to the nominal value, as we talked about. So I'm going to look at this one to start off with. So 57.15 to 57.07. To find the middle, what you would do is what I do is I add those two numbers together and I simply divide by 2 because it's the average. There's only 2 numbers. So if you take 57.07, and some might be able to do this in their head to find the middle, but I don't ever trust myself. And it looks like I wrote it down here. 57.11 is the middle dimension. Okay. With that, then you're going to notice that we would add 0.04 and we would subtract 0.04 to get the 2 limits of size here. So we'll draw it to the 57.11. And then when we identify our dimension with the tolerance, it'll be a plus or minus 0.04. Okay. And then what I want to do is I just want to check the other ones to see what those are. So, because again, if I can, if it happens to be the same tolerance, that is awesome. So I'm going to do the 44.45 and I'm going to add the 44.37 and I'm going to divide it by 2. And here I get 44.41. Okay. So when I look here, here's another one. You'll notice if it's 44.1 is the middle, I would add 0.04 to get the top number, and I would subtract 0.04 to get the bottom number again. Okay, so that's good. So these two can use the same style. They're 2 place decimals, and they're both plus or minus 0.04. So you'll set up a style that's going to reflect that. And then the last one, let's check that very last one. So that's, what is that? 28.58. Oops. And 28.52. Okay, this one, the middle is 28.55. Okay, and as we look here, this is going to be 0.03 plus and 0.03 minus. So that one will have a separate dimension style to it. So off of your template, you'll have the, the 0 place on metric and a 1 place, right? So you're going to have to create a 2 place plus or minus 0.04, right? So this would be plus or minus 0.04. Oops. Okay. but you're going to be doing the limits so that we get the diameters that are the two sizes, the max and the min here. The one on the very end here, the 44.41, we'll draw it to 44.41, but it's going to be plus or minus 0.04 on that tolerance. And then we're going to draw this to 28.55, but this one's going to be plus or minus 0.03. Okay. Does that make sense? So that's some pre-work you kind of want to do, only because that way when you're drawing them, again, it's nice to be able to hit that middle mark and then do the pluses and minuses evenly, and then maybe even combine or notice if any are the same so that you can kind of know what you're up against. Okay. So any questions? So why don't we take a look at getting this one started, at least on the construction, so we can see, you know, how to create this. Okay. So, so I'm going to go over to AutoCAD, and, I already have the roller stud done, but I'm going to do a new one, over on the side here. We'll kind of keep it in the same place. That way I can kind of refer back and forth if I need to. And I'm you can go ahead. I know I created mine to start, I believe. Actually, I'll put my view back on. I think I put my 0, 0 over here. Does it matter? Remember, it really doesn't. Okay. So whether you use that UCS or not, it's totally up to you. Sometimes, like I said, if you know that it's going to be used later on for putting into another machine is going to use your geometry, then it's probably not a bad idea to do it. But it's not something like if you get to the very end, you're like, oh, I didn't do that. You can always reorient it or push it where you need it to go. So it's not critical, but it's not a bad idea either. Okay, so I'm going to go over here and I'm going to start with drawing my diameter. So kind of like this view right here. So as I look, I'm gonna kind of push this up here. I'm going to go to my object line layer. Oops, color. I just want to go on the layer, object line layer, and here. We'll kind of go back and forth here underneath the camera. And what I'm going to draw is I'm going to first draw these largest, you know, each one of these diameters, okay, along, you know, down, looking down that right side view where we see the circular view. So the first one I'm going to do is 57.11. The next one I'm going to do is going to be not 42, that's across the flats. I'm going to do the 44.41, and then I'm going to do the 28.55. Okay. So as we look here, and again, if you've already done this and you want to work independently on other portions of the assignment, go right ahead. But for those who maybe need some guidance or want to see how this gets started, feel free to follow along with me. So even if you're clicking and not following along, that's totally okay today. All right. So wherever you're at. So I'm going to start by doing a center diameter. And again, if you wanted to start at your 0, 0, mine's over there. I'm just going to go right here and I'm going to create my diameter. So 57.11. And again, that's the middle dimension for that tolerance. Okay. Actually, I'm going to move this over a little bit further because I know I'm going to have a. There we go. Okay, then the diameter that shares this very same center is that next largest diameter. So I'm going to do a center diameter again, and I'm going to grab the same center point. So make sure that you grab the same center so they share the same center. And if you happen to be on the 0, 0, you can just key in 0, 0. And this one is going to be the 44.41. Okay. All right. And then the last one that I have is the 28.55. Now this one, I'm going to intentionally kind of put it over to the side here, and then I'm going to place it where I need it to go. So this one is going to be 28.55. I just left clicked for its center. And now what I'm going to do is if we go back to underneath our camera here, this bottom diameter shares the same bottom quadrant as the 44.41 diameter. Do you see that? That second largest diameter, that's in line. So we are going to, oops, wrong one. We're going to place this quadrant on this quadrant. So I'm going to do a move. I'm going to select my diameter, enter, and the base position is going to be the quadrant on the smaller circle, and then we're going to go over to, I'm going to turn off my ortho. We're going to go over to the quadrant of the second largest circle. There it is. So from that view, that's where that one lands. Okay. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw my front view from that. So this is one of those instances, I guess it just made sense to do it this way, to really start with my right side view, if you would. And now I'm going to actually create my front. Most often I start in my front view. So, so using the construction lines, I really kind of like, oops, they're turned off. Oh yeah, they are. Turn them back on. Shoots. I'm gonna have to delete some because I used them in my original construction. I had them turned off. So we'll turn them back on here. No worries. And I'm going to go on my construction line layer, go to my construction lines. And then now what I'm going to do is create those lines, turning in my ortho back so that I can create my front and then ultimately my top view. Okay. So now we are going to do a line. I'm going to go about here. Here we go. And that's just a construction line. I didn't use the official X line, if you would. I just drew a line going vertical. Either way works. And now I'm going to do offset, and I'm going to offset my distances back. So you'll notice that the overall length is 102. So I'm going to do 102 all the way back. And that's the full length. And then it's going to be, looks like 21, 25 forward. So offset again, 21. And then offset again, 25. And remember, you can use the enter key as well. Okay. Now, the 21 is going to be, I'm going to go back to my object line layer here, do my line command. This is going to be from here. This is the largest diameter from here to here to here and up. Okay. Then the next one, the 25, was that second smallest diameter. And then now the rest of it is going to be, here's the top of that smallest diameter. It's going to be from here to here to here to there. Okay. Let's make sure it looks, yeah, it looks good. I'm like, this seems a little small. All right. So, so I'm going to just do a quick save. If you need to do a save as, you know, you want to call it the roller stud and go back to wherever you've been navigating and saving your files. Okay. So now let's take a peek back over here. Kind of see where we're at. So we have front view done. Well, front view-ish done. We've got the bones of it, if you would, or the outline. We've got the right side done. So let's just draw the top view for right now. How we plan on looking at that. Okay. So our top view, I am going to go back to the construction line layer and then put in those X lines of infinity just to go straight up. Okay. All right. And then I could do my miter line from this front corner right here. So I'm gonna grab that because that probably will come in handy a little bit later. I'm gonna go down to my polar tracking, and there's my 45 degrees. That's far enough. There we go. Okay. Just in case, I don't know if I'm going to use it immediately, but I might. I will, because I want to line up that center line. So we'll go back to the construction line layer. My center line here. It's going to go straight up, and then this one's going to go. Whoop, straight again from that intersection horizontal. Okay, so that's my center line then for the top view. Now, I'm not going to worry so much about the shape. I'm just going to get it into the sizes that we have here. So that means that, I guess I've got them here. I might as well use my construction lines from the sides, from my quadrant up, quadrant up, quadrant up, and oopsie, that came from. Quadrant. Why is it going tangent? I just want to be vertical. There we go. And quadrant up. There we go. Okay. So now those are going to be my widths of my larger diameters. So I'm going to go back to the, oh no, I still need to stay here and push them over. Now I'm ready to put my outlines in. So I'm going to go from here. This is my largest on the very end. Right. And then my second is going to be the next width. Okay. Oh, and then I do have my third one. I can add those as well. So yeah, I'll put them in because it's a weird dimension. So I'm gonna, could have grabbed them when I was there, but I didn't. Up and then over, and this one. There we go. Back to my object line layer. Should go here, 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 and there. Okay. So any questions so far? I'm going to do a quick save. All right. So now we need to add some of those extra features that are in there, like the cuts and such. So we've got the cut on the top here. We've got this cut along the back side, 31 wide and 6 deep, or 32 wide, 6 deep. And then we've got the 42 wide on either side. I'm going to start with the front side here. That one's kind of, if you would, the easiest maybe. So, so going back to AutoCAD, I'm actually going to set that one up in the right side view, because I need to know when I go my 5 millimeters deep, where does it, land on the two sides here. So I'm going to do an offset. Okay. 5 millimeters. I'm going to use the construction line and go straight down. Okay. And I'm on my object line layer. So I'm just going to simply put from the intersection that was created by that construction line on either side. Okay. Now in the front view, if we look at our drawing, this cut is 24 millimeters back from the front edge. Okay. So we can do another offset of 24. Oopsie. Offset of 24. Okay. Offset back down here, 24. And I'm going to go from that front edge. And again, I'm using the construction lines. That's where they do come in handy, so that it minimizes maybe some of the trimming that you end up having to do. Okay. But if you use the object lines, it's totally fine. Totally fine. Okay. Don't feel like, oh, I'm doing it wrong. You're not. And then I want to do my object lines from this intersection down and over. And then we're going to trim those two away. Okay. And then we want to translate that up to here. Now, you'll notice that when this cuts in the front view across, we have to translate those 2 points up because it doesn't cut it completely across. So we have some extra lines here. I'm going to go back to my construction line layer, to my construction line here. And I'm going to go from the intersection where the cut occurs, where we did that offset of 5. Okay, let me do this again. Intersection, there we go. And intersection. Sometimes I think my object snaps get in the way. So I'm going to do intersection from here up. There we go. So now there are going to be a lot of lines here. We're going to be on these 2 closest to the inside. So I'm going to do another construction line from that intersection horizontal, and from that intersection horizontal. Now back to my object line, and it's going to be from here to here to here to here. okay, from the top view, okay? Even though it looks like it's all being cut off here, that diameter is a little bit wider there yet. So in the top view, we end up seeing these two sides, if you would, okay, a little bit. So that's where that goes to. So quick save, so we don't have to redo that. And then as long as I'm here on this portion, we might as well put that hole in, right? So that's 12 in on center. So I'm going to do another offset. This time 12 from that end in. And now I can draw a circle diameter from that intersection. And then we're going to do 8 millimeters. Okay. Just so that I don't forget about it later on, we might as well put the hidden lines in place. Okay. So I am going to do make sure that my my snap reference lines are on so I can track it down. And I'm basically, can I get it? I can't get it. So it's all in here. All right. So I'm going to go from the intersection on one side of that hole down, 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 and where it crosses that cut and then perpendicular to the opposite one. Do it again. Intersection down, 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 click, click. There we go. Good, good, good. All right. Then we can do that very same thing. We can do a copy on this. I'm going to copy these 2 lines. And we're going to go from there to perpendicular there. Now, the only thing we have to do is you'll notice that they'll overlap a little bit here. We just need to trim them back up to the right hole. Now, technically, there's a little bit of a circle there just because of the edge, but we don't show it because those lines would be way too close together to make really any distinguishing difference on them. So going straight through like this is totally fine. Okay. All right, do a quick save. And we've got our hole in. Okay, now let's look back underneath. I'm going to add the cut on the back side here. This one's pretty straightforward. It's going to be 32 wide off center, so 16 top, 16 bottom, and then 6 deep. And that's going to be on the opposite end of our roller stud. So I'm going to go all the way over to this left side. And I need to find, I believe, I'm just going to check my midpoint here. Let's see. Midpoint. Yeah, it's right there. Okay, so I wanted to be sure. This is my center line right here of my 2 leftmost diameters, the 2 larger diameters. So from here, I'm going to do an offset of 16, right? And I'm going to go 16 up and 16 down. And then one more offset is going to be 6. Oops. I hit it. There we go. 6. And it's going to go in. All right. So from this view, we're going to have object line, line. It's going to be here to here to. Is that right? No. One up, right? Yeah. We start getting all these lines. There we go. And then in. Now, because this is a cut through that whole back side, this portion is going to be trimmed away. Okay. So let's get that trimmed away. Oopsie. Not erase. I'm going to do trim. Sometimes it'll catch it. Sometimes it won't. There we go. Okay. All right. Now we want to translate that up. So that's going to be a hidden line across the entire back side. There we go. Okay. And then it's also going to be a hidden line over here. Oh, so many lines. Try to get a look at it. Line. So it's going to be this line right here from here to here. And then from here to All right. Wow, there's a lot of lines, isn't there? All right. So now we need to do the cuts on either side. So if we go back over here, we want to grab this width of 42 here. So when we're in that right side view looking down the center, this is where we're going to add the 42 wide or 21 on either side. So go back to AutoCAD. We're going to go right in this view. Now, this is getting quite crazy. So I'm just going to get rid of all of these internal lines except my middle one. That way when I go up and over, it should be a little bit easier to look at. Okay. So off that middle, we're going to do an offset of 21. In both directions, to the left and to the right. Okay. And that is going to be a line that's going to come straight down, and this portion right here we're going to cut off, okay, because it's not, that part of the diameter is going to be gone. So I'm going to go back to my object line layer. I'm going to draw this line from the top here all the way down here, and then same thing on the other side from this intersection all the way here, and then we're going to trim away. You got to get close. This it's going to be, oh, there's that one. That one's good. And then the same thing on this side. Okay, so that's what that view looks like. Okay, now we've got to bring these over. Okay, so I'm going to get rid of a couple of these horizontal lines just because, and that's okay. You know, you don't have to keep them all in here the whole time because it does get to be a lot to look at. Okay. That one too. Okay. So now we'll push them over though. Construction line layer. And we'll grab these intersections with the line that we just created. Why aren't you going horizontal? From the intersection. From the intersection. I think my object snaps, I'm going to turn them off. And then we need from this intersection. And to get that menu, just as a reminder, I use the shift right mouse button. I hold them at the same time. And then you can get those object snaps that'll like take precedence or override what's there. Okay, let's look back at our drawing, and you'll notice that this cut goes 32 deep from the front of the smaller one. So it goes through the smaller diameter, but then it goes a little bit into that larger diameter. So it's 32 from the front of that one. So we go back over here, that cut is going to be offset, and it's going to be 32 from this front edge in. Okay. Okay. So now we can make our outline. So line, it's going to go from, turn my object snaps back on, intersection, over, and then it's going to go from, where is it? Here, there to there, from there to there. Okay. And then I think we get rid of that middle line because that's going to be a total surface here. So this goes away. And just double check over here. Yeah, looks right. Okay. That makes sense to everybody. So in this front view, then don't forget to get rid of that middle line, because when we look at the drawing itself, because of how deep we are, that becomes a flush surface. So there is no line here. This one went away because it was deep enough and it's like solid material. Okay. So then we just need to translate that up to the top now. Okay. All right. So since we know where it ends right here, we also know that it's 42 wide. So I'm just going to, instead of doing the construction lines over, I'm going to go 21 and 21 on either side of my center line here. I'm on my object line layer, so I'm going to go line from that intersection in and out. Escape. And then line from this intersection in and out. I'm going to trim away this. Erase that. And then do the same thing on this side. Trim away this. And erase that. Now, as we look at the top, let me see, can you remind me where that front is? Here's that front of that larger diameter that will be cut into. So that's that. This keeps going. Bless you. And I think we're good on top, right? Yeah. Oh, we do have one little edge, don't we? In the top view, it looks like where this comes across, like where this comes in, that's going to be a little edge for us, right? So this one's close. I'm going to get rid of these two. And get rid of this one and this one. And it's going to go to the other edge there. Yeah. So yes, James. This one right here, these?
Yeah, on the top view.
Because it's just going to be this little edge that's because of this point right here. So it's going to come in here and it's going to create a little line back when we look at the top. So it's going to be a little line right here of where it starts and right there. It does go straight through, but there's this little point right here where it's going to intersect. So it would be a little edge that we would end up seeing. So we'll put that one up here, and then up here. Intersection, one more up. And then over. Regular line. Okay. All right. And then besides our center lines, I think that's construction. Any questions? Yes. This part right here?
Yeah.
Oh, so this is in projection with this, the 32 back. So this was that 32 millimeters back. So this is in projection. The little one right here? Yep, that's going to be from this little intersection right here. So this is where this comes through the back side. Okay. And then there's this little corner right here. And so you project that up and then over. And then that's going to be that little corner right there. All right. So center lines is really all that we have left. So, so any questions on any other portions there? Make sense? Okay. So, oops, chat. I got a question in here. How much are the offset for the ledges in the side view? Offset for the ledges. The 42? I'm not sure, Caleb. Those lines that we just did. Oh, it's constructed. I don't know how long they are because it's from this line right here that we created. Okay. That was 32 up and 32 back. So then this little corner is just that intersection. I don't know how wide that is. You can use the construction here to get that. Does that make sense, Caleb? So I use a construction line going straight up onto my miter line, and then I went straight over on that miter line to get that. So I didn't offset those. I used the construction down here where it came through. Is that what you're asking about, Caleb? Not that one, the vertical lines. What offset do I do to make those? These right here? This one right here, Caleb? You'll have to answer me some way. Yeah. Oh, well, those are back on the illustration. Okay. 42 wide, and it tells us 21 from the center. 21 in one side, 21 from the other. Okay. Is that helpful? Okay. Yeah. Thank you. I was getting confused. Okay. All right. Okay. So now that we have the construction done, like I said, center lines, I'm going to let you guys put those in. Does that sound okay? Go ahead.
So whenever an arrow is dealing with the center mark, it doesn't extend past the circle mark. I think there's a problem with the scale of it.
Could be, and I tried messing around with that. I'm not sure what to do, but what you can do, so let's say we're on our center line and let's say we do the center mark, we put it in place, right? And it doesn't go much beyond. All you need to do is grab it and go a little bit over. That's all with the grips, and then just go nearest if you have a construction line down below that. And then nearest here as well. Yeah, I don't know exactly where that is housed. Does that make sense? Yeah. So I know that one's kind of eh. And sometimes I end up just using regular center lines then. It's up to you. But yeah, you do have to correct that on these drawings. You can't just say, well, that's what AutoCAD did, right? AutoCAD's a machine. You're the human. And then the other center lines, I'll let you guys put those in. So once we have that all done, I'm going to turn my construction lines off again. Once we have that all done, now we're ready to put our dimensions on, right? Now over here, I have the dimensions in place and oh, I forgot to tell you guys, those who are in class, I should have given that to you. I totally forgot. Let me see. Well, you guys can come up and get them if you want them. I've got copies of the 3, guides if you want to use those. The only special dimensions here on this drawing are going to be the 1, 2, 3 diameters that have the limits, right? So I'll kind of review how we add those back in. So if you need to kind of remember those. So first and foremost, you need to know what was the diameter that you drew this to. Okay, we already figured that out beforehand. So over on the left hand side, where the 57.15 and the 57.07 is, we know that we drew that at 57.11. Okay, with a plus or minus, it's going to be 0.04 that we figured out before we even started, right? So we'll set that one up first. Now, you'll notice that this is like an outside diameter. So the best place to place this diameter is going to be where we see it in what I call its rectangular view. Okay, so you'll notice that I placed it over here. Putting it over here isn't quite as clear, okay? And the standard is we want to put it in its cylindrical view, especially when it's an outside like diameter like this. So you'll notice that that's where I placed that one. We're going to put it in place. And because it's going to be put in as a linear dimension instead of a diameter, we're going to have to put the diameter symbol in front of that limit dimension, okay? So let's go ahead and make up this dimension style. So as we look here, the standard style is going to be either a 0 place or a 1 place, right? That you guys have. So what you're going to do, I know I have a 2 place here because I was playing around with it because there was no 1 place. So I changed it to a 2 place. So whatever. So that's what I did. So, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new one, and whether you take it from a 0 place, the 1 place really doesn't matter. So we're going to do a new one. And I'm going to change its name to 2 place millimeter, but I'm going to do a plus minus 0.04. Okay. That's going to be my tolerance. And I'm going to say continue. And I'm going to start off. It's always a good idea. Now I know I've got my bi layer here because I have my center line layer active, but these would be pink if you've got your dimension layer on. Really not important because everything is going to go by the layer. So when I go back out of here and I change it to the dimension line layer, these colors will be correct. And then just making sure that we have our 3.2, our 1.9, you know, all these things. The fit is to 1. Primary units, we want these to be to 2. So if they are 1 or 0, you want to change those to 2. Make sure that you do not suppress the 0. Okay, in metric, we don't suppress the 0. And then we're going to go to the very last tab of tolerances. And we're going to change this to limits. Okay, change those to limits. Now the precision is 2 decimal places. So that's going to follow whatever the decimal places are. And then our upper limit is going to be 0.04, right? Yeah, 0.04. And our lower limit is going to be 0.04 because we're going to add 4 and we're going to subtract 4 for 0.04. Okay, off of what our middle dimension is. And everything else can stay here and we can just simply press OK. And then we're going to set this as current and we're going to say close. So now that's my current one. All right, my 2 place plus or minus 0.04. So I'm going to get rid of this dimension for right now. I'm going to put it in as a linear dimension. Okay, outside, outside, over. Oh, shoots, I've got it on the center line layer. So I'm just going to click this and I'm going to put it on the dimension line layer. Okay, and then I'll put the dimension layer back on. Now I need to add the diameter symbol. So I'm going to double click on my dimension so that the text becomes active, and I'm like blinking in the front here. That's good. All I'm going to do is go to the symbol and I'm going to put a diameter out front. Okay. And then it's kind of weird. You just got to click on the outside. Don't hit enter. Don't hit escape because otherwise it won't take it. Okay. All right. Questions on that? So now you're going to use that very same scheme for the 44.1. And that's what I did right here, the 44.41. So we drew that to 44.41 and we can use that same tolerance here. It's the smaller diameter. So you can use that here rather than the outside diameter. Okay, so that one we can place there. And then the last one, we would make up the very same thing, but this time it's going to be a plus or minus 0.03. So you can do a copy off of this one. So for instance, if I go in here and I say, oh, I've got that one selected, I want to create a new one. This would be a 2 place, but then I would have plus or minus 0.03. Okay. And I would continue and I would simply go to my tolerances. Everything else is the same, except this is going to be a plus 3.03. And then this is going to be a minus 0.03. And that would be okay. And then when I do that very same thing for this one, I'm going to do another linear dimension from here to here. And then I'm going to have to put double click to put the diameter symbol in, symbol, diameter, and then click somewhere outside as not to lose it. Otherwise, if you hit escape or enter, it kind of doesn't behave the way we want it to. And then the rest of the dimensions are just the no place linear dimensions. Any questions on this one? All right. Okay. So, so then what I'm going to do is I'm just gonna save this one out here. The guide is up here if you need it. Sorry, I should have handed those out, but all right. Okay. Then I'm gonna kind of stop here for that one.